You're listening to Season 5 of the Three Angry Giant Fans and the Jet Fad podcast, brought to you by smallcollegemovement.com. Get our podcast free wherever you get your podcasts, and search for our YouTube channel by looking up Three Angry Giant Fans. We're here to bring you another season of Giants news, Jets news, and all the shenanigans that go along with it. And, of course, we'll be doing our pet peeves. Enjoy and go Giants and Jets.
Okay, time to break out your calendars. We have some dates for you.
That's right, and a couple overseas trips for New York fans. It's like Christmas in May. Fans find out where and when their favorite team will be playing next season so they can plan trips and get game tickets. I'm talking about the official release of the full NFL schedule. It was leaked yesterday. The Jets season opener will take place in San Francisco on Monday night football, September 9th. Their first home game comes in Week 3 when they host the rival Patriots. First time since 1999, Bill Belichick won't be on the New England sideline. They'll also take a trip across the pond Week 5 to face the Vikings in London on October 6th, and it'll be a spooky Halloween win in Week 9. That's when they host the Texans. That Thursday nighter is one of 6 primetime games for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. As for the Giants, they open the season hosting the Vikings. The much-awaited return of former franchise running back Saquon Barkley in an Eagle uniform comes in Week 7. That's going to look strange. Like the Jets, the Giants have an international game. It'll be Week 10 in Munich against the Carolina Panthers. By the way, the Giants 3-0 in games played in Europe. And on Thanksgiving Day, Big Blue hopes to be feasting on the Cowboys in Dallas. Going to be an exciting season.
So that's a brief recap of the key games for the Giants and Jets, as said by the New York media. So for the Jets and Giants, we'll go through the full schedule, but the Jets have a game on Halloween, and the Giants have a game on Thanksgiving, which we always have to love in Dallas. So we are the Three Angry Giant Fans, as we host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. And we're here to do the schedule review. Boys, I got to say that the schedule for the Giants is not too bad. We'll go through it, but 11 1 o'clock games, which is a welcome. I love a 1 o'clock game. 1 o'clock Sunday.
Yeah, I'm actually not that pissed, believe it or not, for the first time, certainly since we've been doing this podcast. And I probably have to go back even earlier than that before we, but you know, we'll get into it. But my initial reaction, I wasn't that pissed. I got to be honest. We'll break it down, but that was my first thought.
Novak?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways I can go here, and obviously we want to start with the Giants, but 7 off Sunday, 1-4 games for the Jets. Come on, what? Do we want to watch the Jets again for that many games? We did it last year, and the NFL said, well, the Jets owe us one. Owe us what? Why do we owe you anything? You owe the fans for putting the Jets on all these primetime games last year without having the foresight to think, well, we're putting them on for one guy. What if he gets injured? This team's going to suck, and we've got to put our fans in through this mess. We don't owe you shit. Stop. I
didn't understand that the Jets owe the NFL. The NFL owes the Jets for putting them on every freaking night last year. Black Friday, everything else.
Does the country need this much dick? I mean, do they need that much of the dick?
Apparently they do.
On national TV? I don't understand. How influential is this guy? I don't get it.
It is because of one player.
You know what? Guess what? You know, committee and Goodell and all these guys and whoever is at Amazon, whoever makes the schedule, like, we're gonna watch anyway. NFL fans are gonna watch. We don't need that much Aaron Rodgers. We're gonna tune in. We don't need this much of the Jets. Novak, I know you feel the same way, so I can go off on this too. Like, we don't need this much of this team. Knock it off.
No, they're a bore. I mean, if we had to sit through it all last year on every other week they're on primetime. Now it's the same thing. They have as many 1-4 Sunday games as the Chiefs. What? The Super Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl champions are the same schedule as the Jets.
Right. A dynasty.
Explain to me how that makes sense.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
I absolutely love the concept that a team owes the NFL something. You know, I mean, God, no, but from the Giants back, the Giants schedule, I agree with everything you guys said. I mean, I'm mostly indifferent, which is going to be kind of, I think, a repeating theme here for a while. But, it's a good schedule. There's a lot of Sunday 1:00 games. They've spread out the hard games. It's not too front loaded, as Cardone had mentioned before. There's a early middle stretch that gets a little brutal on them there. But,
Yeah.
we're used to having our schedule just front loaded with, playoff team games on the road. And that's not the case here. I mean, we do go to Cleveland and go to Seattle there in the first 5 weeks, but we only play back-to-back road games one time.
Yeah.
It's a pretty favorable schedule overall. The Jets schedule, and I know it was like that last year too, Novak, but it reminds me of the Giants schedule from last year. Like, when do we get a 1:00 Sunday game? That's last year was just the most brutal season schedule I've ever seen. So anything would be a welcome reprieve from that. But this is actually pretty good. I mean, this is going the other way.
Well, we'll get into it. I know last year when the Giants opened up and they had like 4 games in a 20-day period, the Jets have a brutal stretch there, weeks 5 through 7, and we'll talk about what that is. But before we get into it, let's get into one of the most unique town names in the United States, or anywhere, actually. So let's give a shout out to a listener, and hello, Ypsilanti, Michigan, the only municipality that I know of that starts with YPS. So
I've heard of it.
Ypsilanti, population 20,648. It is the home of Eastern Michigan University, and it was named for Demetrius Ypsilantis, a hero in the Greek War of Independence. So I don't know how that translated to Michigan. Somehow it did. It's also the home of the first Domino's Pizza and the home of Iggy Pop, possibly one of the ugliest rockers ever.
Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop looked like he was always like 85 pounds soaking wet.
Oh, yeah. He was like born with a heroin addiction or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I am the passenger. The passenger. Great song by Iggy Pop. It's a good.
Guy's never worn a shirt like in his entire life.
No, I don't think he's ever worn a shirt. I think you're right about that.
I mean, I never really put 2 thoughts into where Iggy Pop was from, but being raised from Ypsilanti makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, of course. Where else would
right? Where else could he be from? I mean, if you said who's from Ypsilanti, I think I might have said, Iggy Pop. That sounds about right.
It is right. It's like that right down the highway there from Ann Arbor. It's so yeah.
Yeah, it's near Ann Arbor. Yeah. It's about half an hour from Detroit. So Ypsilanti.
All right.
I'm stumped on Ypsilanti. Usually I have something witty to say about the town. I got nothing. Ypsilanti.
Grammatically, it's like the only town you're going to see that starts with 3 consonants like that.
Maybe he's a cousin of Bob Sacamano. It's kind of like the same kind of last name.
Yeah.
Bob my cousin Nick Ypsilanti, from Islip, Long Island.
Islip. Lacrosse powerhouse. So actually, we have a listener from Islip. The champ, Matty Beyer, who never actually followed up on any of the 7-part questions that he was in like season 2. So let's go through the schedule.
I didn't know
he
that.
was from Islip. Played lacrosse. Had a twin brother. Still has a twin brother, I think. So Giants open up against Minnesota 1 p.m. week 1. Then at Washington week 2, another 1 p.m. game. Then at Cleveland, week 3, another 1 p.m. game. Week 4, the first of 2 Dallas games on a Thursday night. We know that the next one's on Thanksgiving. Week 5 at Seattle, 4:25 p.m. Then they come back home at Cincy Sunday Night Football. Week 6, week 7, Philly at home, so the return of Saquon Barkley, 1:00 game. At Pittsburgh, week 8 on Monday Night Football. Then they host Washington, so they'll be done with Washington by week 9. Another 1:00 game. Week 10, they're in Germany, in Munich, to play Carolina. And then they have their bye. Then 1:00 game at home against Tampa Bay on week 12. Week 13 at Dallas, Thanksgiving. Week 14 and 15, they're home for 1:00 games against the Saints and the Ravens. Week 16 at Atlanta, 1:00. Week 17, home against Indy at 1:00. And week 18, they finish up against Philly, 1:00 again. those last 5 games can be subject to a flex, which we never know it's going to happen or not. So overall, 11 1 p.m. games. I agree with what Mike said in the beginning. There's a stretch there, weeks 3 through 8, where it gets a little dicey. But the Giants, this is one of those I always hate saying must-win games, but you got to start 2-0. You got to put your best foot forward against Minnesota, who might have you don't have J.J. McCarthy maybe not playing week 1. They might have Sam Darnold, make them see ghosts, and then week 2 against Jaden Daniels, who's just starting out his career. So if you can't get those first 2 games, you're going up against a tough Cleveland team in Cleveland, and then Dallas on a Thursday night. So you're looking at things going south if you don't start out 2-0.
Yeah, there's just no way you should be losing to rookie quarterbacks in week 1 or 2, and we've got 2 of them. Come on, man.
I'll take 1-0.
Yeah, give me what. That's right. It's a good place to start. But yeah, I just don't. You can't lose either one of those games. You're right, Scott. It's not must win. Christ, we could lose one and be just fine. But you know what I mean when I say that is, you can't lose to a rookie quarterback week 1 or week 2 in the NFL. You can't. If you do, you should get your defensive coordinator out of there. I mean,
what I like about this though is that
trip up a rookie quarterback in week 2 in the NFL in the second start of his career. Get out of here.
That's where your defense needs to make a statement already with Tibbs and those guys. Kirky. What I look back on when I see the schedules, I look back a little bit on 2022. We started on the road against the Titans, but we won. We had a winnable game. It got us going on the momentum side. I think if we do that this year, we're rolling towards 10 wins. Whereas if you lose one or both those games, you're looking at maybe 6, 5.
No doubt.
Yep.
Well, the schedule makers finally gave us what we've been asking for the last couple of years, and that I'll just with week 1 we have a home game, 1:00 against what looks to be a winnable game. I feel like we haven't had that. I mean, I know you mentioned you just mentioned Tennessee, Scott, which really that wasn't a game I don't think that we were expecting them to win 2 years ago.
Well, it was on the road too.
It was on the road.
Yeah.
Right. This is one at home. This is an Eagle type week 1. The schedules that they always get, like, oh shit, a team with at home against a rookie quarterback. So if they can't win right out of the gate, I'm not even looking past the Vikings week 1, because I think as it is, the Giants open up as a fucking underdog in week 1. The way too early point spread had the Vikings favored by a point. The only other home team that was dogged in week 1 when the odds first came out was the Indianapolis Colts against Houston, I think by the same spread, by 1. But you're right, Scott and Mike. If they can get off to a 1-0 start, we play well. We match up always play well down in Washington, so we have a chance to go 2-0, and then weeks 3 through 8, we'll get into a little more. But that's, I think, really their toughest stretch of the season. I think, you never know what's going to happen. But Mike, you already mentioned it. That was one of my bullets. The only back-to-back roadies is weeks 2 and 3. So if you can grab one of those, obviously I'd prefer to have the division game for standings and tiebreakers and all that shit. But then you get into the Cowboys and at Seattle, we know is brutal. Bengals and Eagles at home. Bengals is a Sunday night. They obviously went for the LSU storyline there with Neighbors and Jamar Chase and Burrow, but getting way ahead here. But I don't know. Right off the bat, guys, we have a Viking team that we can beat week 1 at 1:00 at home. I'll take it.
Yeah. So we'll get in more in depth on the games to watch, the stretches that are tough. But let's talk about the Jets schedule too. Mm-hmm. So the Jets open up Monday Night Football against San Francisco week 1. Turn around. They get Tennessee at home. Or no, they get Tennessee on the road. 1:00 game on week 2. And then they come back on a short week and play New England on a Thursday night game. And then they play at home against Denver week 4, 1:00 game. And here's where it gets brutal. Week 5 at Minnesota in London. So it's technically they're the road team, but it's in London, similar to the Giants being the road team against Carolina. And then they come back home week 6 and play Buffalo on Monday Night Football at home. And then week 7 at Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. So they go to London. They don't get the bye after going to London. They come back home, Monday Night Football, then Sunday Night Football. Week 8 at New England, a 1 o'clock game. Week 9, they're back on prime time. Texans on Thursday at home. Week 10 at Arizona, 4:25, so they got to go across the country. And then week 11, they come back home against Indy on Sunday Night Football. So, another break, and then they have another primetime game. Week 12 is their bye, so we have a week 11 bye. The Jets have a week 12 bye. And then from there on out, it's all 1 o'clock games, which, of course, can be flex. So week 13, home against Seattle. Week 14, at Miami. Week 15, at Jacksonville. Week 16, home against the Rams. Week 17, at Buffalo. And week 18, Miami at home. So they don't play Miami until week 14 and then play them twice between the 14th and 18th. It reminds me of a similar situation where the Giants always play the Eagles like week 15 on, So I got to say the NFL always they say they make a fair schedule, and we'll talk about the time it took to roll out the schedule in a little bit. But you look at that, how do you give a team a trip to London, have them come back, play on Monday Night Football, and then turn it right around and play Sunday Night Football the next week? I don't get these 3 weeks in a row doing that, and then you give them a break and they play on a Thursday night.
I mean, I think the NFL, they said they owe us one. I think they were like, fuck the Jets. We're going to screw them for messing up our ratings last year, and they gave them the schedule. Like, first of all, I mean, so I have so many problems with this. Number one, how do you start them off the 49ers, the best defense of the league, on a Monday night? So we're going to have to, please, I'm telling Salah right now, put Tyrod Taylor in for the fourth play from scrimmage. I don't want Rodgers anywhere near the field on the fourth play, because that's all anyone's going to talk about. So we're starting off the year 0-1. Okay, after that, I actually don't have a problem with the next 4 or 5-ish games. Minnesota in London. So I learned this. The Jets had the option to take the bye after the London game, and they declined. So they wanted to take it later.
Probably they didn't want it in week 6. That's probably
exactly.
Why. Yeah.
So
too early in the season? Is that the thought?
Too early? Yeah. Yes, that was the thought. I don't hate the back and forth with I don't think the Patriots are going to be good. The Texan game on a Thursday night after having played the rival, the Patriots, I don't love that. And then, so the one thing I always look at when the schedules come out are I look at the first 10, 11 games. Where are we going to be in December? And what is December going to look like? Because that's when you got to go on your run. That's when the real teams, come up to the surface. And I think that I don't love the fact that we got to play the Dolphins twice. That last game is going to be flexed because I can guarantee that's going to be a win and in for one of the two. So we're probably going to play another primetime game. So now we've got 8 primetime games, which is ridiculous. The schedule, when you look at it just as a whole, doesn't look that daunting, but I think they screwed them with these Monday night to a Sunday night to a London game and a Thursday night game sprinkled in there. I think they screwed the Jets. I'm pretty pissed off about the whole thing, and I hate opening up with the Niners because it's 0-1. We're 0-1. Why even play the game? Just go 0-1. Don't play Rodgers. Just let Tyrod Taylor get his ass kicked by that 49ers defensive line and just go from there.
Here's what I don't like about the Jets schedules. If you look at week 5 through 10, 4 of those games out of the 6 are away. And yet you still have the London game in there, a Monday night game, a Sunday night game, a Thursday night game. And then after week 10, although we were at home, it's a Sunday night game against Indianapolis. So you're running the gauntlet there. I don't like when it's, back-to-back, away games and a home game, then it's a primetime game. It reminds me too much of what the Giants did last year when they went out to the West Coast and played primetime game after primetime game and just started with a gauntlet.
Yeah, no one wants the primetime games, and no one wants to watch the Jets. So just stop with this.
One thing the NFL's been doing for a long, and this is not something new, why in the world don't we have enough teams and enough matchups? Why do we have to get the same team 2 weeks in a row?
Seriously.
In prime time? That's been going on for a long time. That's not something that's just, that's new. I don't understand that one at all.
Especially with a team that's 7-10.
Right. It just makes no sense. That one I don't understand. There's out of this many weeks in the season, I'm not saying even if it's 2 and 3 weeks or 4, all right, I can almost live with that. But back-to-back weeks, the same team, that should never happen. I don't get that.
Yeah. I don't get. I mean, and maybe you guys just said this. I was just checking my facts to make sure it was right. But what is the last team, a Super Bowl runner-up, has started at home against a 7-10 team from the year before who didn't make the playoffs? What is the last time something like that has happened? I mean, don't they usually like try to get a Super Bowl rematch out there, or an NFC Championship game rematch, or something, like get them back in the spotlight? No, and I think, like Novak was mentioning earlier, this is an Aaron Rodgers thing.
Yeah.
But I don't, Novak, if I piss you off, I apologize.
No, it's cool.
The Jets are going to stink on offense. Rodgers is going to be a gigantic disappointment. It's been too long. He wasn't that good anymore when he left Green Bay. This is going to be more disappointment piled on. Now, as we've talked about before, and Novak and I talked about this a lot at the end of last year, the Jets offense doesn't have to be great. They don't have to be, as long as they're capable. The defense might be able to take them somewhere. But I think this is going to be comical, all these Monday night games with Rodgers out there shitting the bed, which I fully expect to happen.
When you look,
no, real quick, I hate that the NFL clearly takes storylines into effect when they are putting out their schedule.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like, let's get a good game. Let's get on a Monday night to start the season. The Super Bowl runner-up. Let's throw the team that the quarterback that they passed on about 50 years ago to take Alex Smith. Like, we'll make that a thing.
Yeah,
that's a great point, Novak. No, it's right. It's now it's about the narrative and the storylines. It's storylines. Yeah. That's 100%. Really where the scheduling comes for prime time. Not obviously, it's out of control, and maybe we can get more into that in terms of how some of these games come about as far as prime time. But it's really more about absolutely the storyline than it is even the matchup or the game or the implications or the just playoff implications, whatever it is. It's got to control.
Yep. Well, there's an underlying point to that, Cardone. This could have been a pet peeve, but you realize that the NFL released a schedule a week later than they wanted to, and they didn't really say why. They came out and said, well, they wanted to take time because it felt like the fan base had a lot of excitement building, and they wanted that excitement to continue to build. What I think happened is you had people behind the scenes lobbying for games. I know Jerry Jones was lobbying to play the 49ers week 1. That didn't happen. There were people that wanted to play certain primetime games. I'm sure the Giants didn't lobby to play the Panthers in Germany, but that's happened. And here's the thing. We're already starting the gas lane before the season starts with the NFL. What possibly happened is that AWS fucked up with their perfect schedule and produced an imperfect schedule, and they had to go and revise it for a week. But it's weird that they said they would release the schedule a week earlier and didn't really offer an explanation other than, well, we felt that there was a lot of excitement on social media building. We just wanted to play off that excitement. I think that's a complete bullshit response. And I think a lot of teams were saying, hey, we want to play here. We want to play there. I saw Troy Vincent it was Brian Dawkins on Good Morning Football earlier this week. And he said the first thing they did when they would get a schedule is look to see if they were playing Christmas and Thanksgiving, because none of the players wanted to. So you have these teams that are playing on holidays that the NFL makes it sound like these guys want to play on the holidays. No, they don't. They want to be with their families. They want to be nearby. They don't even want an away game near the holidays. They want to be at home with their family.
It's more of this AWS crap. I mean, this started rearing its head last year, and the first year they sort of pumping that thing up. The schedule was possibly the worst schedule of all time. And now this one is, like I said, from a Giants fan point of view, good job AWS this year. But for a lot of other teams and matchups and it's like we talk about, Scott, like what happens within the game, what happens before the game and everything too. It's this trumped up drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. Well, I've seen this. There's a team like the Panthers who don't have any primetime games this year.
Good.
And that's the way it really should be.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Giants have 4 primetime games, And you know, if you want to count,
well, 3 night games, Scott. Yeah, if you're counting
well,
Thanksgiving.
3 night games and then
a
Thanksgiving
European game.
and they have a
the
European
Germany,
game.
yeah.
But I mean, if you really want to get down to it, the Giants deserve to play at home at 1:00 and basically every week. You know, no one really wants to see that.
They stink. They have stunk for years.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the New York market. I mean, I don't know. That still has to exist, I'm sure, in terms of the ratings and all that bullshit. And we know what ratings whores the NFL is and the schedule makers and why they do this. But being the angry Giant fan that I am, if I could just give you the 3 games that stand out for me, like, so tell me the storyline. So what's our storyline? Why do we need to go to fucking Pittsburgh on a Monday night? Like, that's a disgusting, ugly game. I'm not expecting Pittsburgh to be that great. Like, they're kind of a, you know, they're not the flashiest team. We know the Giants certainly aren't. The Giants, so that's a wild game. And here's why: because as a Giant fan, we know the history of the Giants in prime time in general, particularly on Monday night. They are grotesque. And if you guys know this, Pittsburgh at home on Monday night, you know what their record is? They never fucking lose on Monday night at home. So why we have to go to Pittsburgh on a Monday night in Week 8? It's absurd to me. That one is just, I don't know what the storyline is there. That's awful. And then how in the world do we trot and run back Giants at Dallas on Thanksgiving? We just did this 2 years ago. We just did that game 2 years ago. Why in the world does the nation have to suffer with the New York Giants? And that's that prime time spot, not the evening game, that 4:25, which is going to totally fuck up my, Thanksgiving
dinner
day.
Time. That's dinner
exactly.
time. Yeah.
That's just when I'm getting into, your the stretchy pants and the whole thing, and just kind of easing your way into the couch, and and I gotta watch the Giants trying to take on the Dallas Cowboys, and watching that Salvation Army fucking tank that they have there. That's usually the first game they pull that thing out. Someone's always climbing into that thing, CeeDee Lamb or so I don't know how we get that one.
Ezekiel's back now.
Ezekiel's back.
Right.
He'll be crawling into that thing twice. You want at least over under for Ezekiel Elliott touchdowns on Thanksgiving Day has got to be at least 1.5. I go with the over for whoever's they're looking to win a couple dollars on Thanksgiving. But that one, and then lastly, I got the waiting for the Giants to be here in Charlotte. We're all in the Charlotte area here. It's been 6 years since the Giants have been in Charlotte, and then prior to that, I don't know if you guys know this, they've only the last time before that was 2013. So that means the Giants have been in Charlotte twice in 11 years. We get them with the rotating schedule. This isn't the same place finisher bullshit. So here we get the schedule, to align. Nope, that's the Germany game. Somehow the Giants got to end up in Germany. So from a personal standpoint, we can't even get to see our team lose to the Panthers, probably, in person. We got to get up at 8:00 on a Sunday to watch that game. Which, by the way, I think we're supposed to get Bloody
Giants lose
Mary
to the Panthers. By the way, if the Giants lose to the Panthers in that game, I'm going to be very pissed off, because that's the one game on the schedule you can circle and say we're going to win.
That's the one.
And we actually do well overseas. I think we're 3-0 overseas at all time.
That's a miracle.
Now, when are these countries overseas going to be like, stop sending us these shit games? Like what?
Jacksonville plays twice overseas.
Yeah.
Just send them over there for good. Just put them in London.
Know.
London Jaguars. Let's just stop.
I don't know, but now? Did you guys hear? They're looking now. Australia now is on the menu possibly for a game.
Oh, come on!
How in the world are you going to handle those travel logistics?
That's like a Monday morning game, by the way. Like, I remember the time I was in Hong Kong. It's Monday, 8:00 in the morning, and there's guys giving me updates about the Panther game that's going on at 8:00 at night the night before. I'm like, oh.
Just make that the Super Bowl, because how else can you actually schedule? Like, you're going to have bye weeks all over the place? What are you doing? If that comes true, I don't know. I just heard that was a rumor. Australia now.
I wouldn't be able to handle the media coverage of that game with shrimp on the Barbie and kangaroo references. Right. And they would just feed it to a nub. Oh my God. Put another shrimp on the Barbie. He's in for the touchdown. Yeah.
Hogan's going to show up dressed like Crocodile Dundee. Like, you're going to have to bring him out in a walker.
But someone needs to explain to me what I mean. I understand the 1 or 2 international games. You put a game in Australia, is that going to bring a ton of revenue to the NFL? I mean, I don't understand. I
don't either.
What is the point? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I want to know what the end game is. Like you talked about having the London Jaguars, fine, but are you going to have like the Brisbane Browns? I mean, it's not going to happen. You're never going to have that happen.
So what? It's a TV sport. It is. I mean, I get it. You can promote the NFL. Throw a preseason game out there. They don't know the freaking difference.
They wouldn't know the difference.
No.
They wouldn't know.
Seriously, just
the whole stadium is wearing jerseys of neither of the team that's playing.
no.
It's a perfect preseason environment. I mean,
Totally.
It is. There's people there with referee shirts on in the stands. They think that's one of the teams. Come on.
Bring back the Vuvuzela. I'll watch the game if you bring those back.
Oh yeah,
They're banned from
South
other.
Africa?
Has NFL banned those? I mean, are those things still around?
I don't know if it's still around.
I don't know.
I think it. So speaking of the preseason, by the way, the Jets' preseason opponents outside of the Giants are Washington and Carolina, and the Giants' preseason opponents outside of the Jets are Dallas or Detroit and Texans. So there's not much to talk about. One thing I did want to mention is, we briefly touched upon the schedule, like sort of between weeks 3 and 8, where we run the gauntlet there at Cleveland, then Dallas, then at Seattle, then playing Cincy, Philly, and Pittsburgh. But guys, after that, we got Washington at home. We go to Germany to play Carolina. Those could be 2 wins. We have our bye. Then we come back and host Tampa Bay, who I still don't think is a very good team. No. And then we got Dallas on Thanksgiving, but then we play New Orleans after that. If we can't get a 3-win out of 4 games stretch there, then the season's done.
Yeah,
in my mind.
Yeah, based on the good start and then the gauntlet and then the games the stretch you're talking about, Scott. I think if we're 500 when we hit that Washington game, where we sort of end the gauntlet on that Monday night in Pittsburgh, we're in pretty darn good shape right there. So that would be, I think it's an odd number of games, so I don't think we could actually be. Could we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No, we could be 4-4. I think if we somehow come out of that stretch at a 4-4, that we're looking at getting 2 or 3, maybe even if we're lucky enough, 4 games over Thanksgiving or 4 games over 500 by Christmas.
There's no doubt I would take 4-4, Mike. Yeah, looking at it.
Yeah.
And even look at the Jets, even though that San Francisco game's tough, they could start 4-1 after that.
Yeah.
You got Tennessee, the Patriots, Denver, and Minnie.
Yep. And that Denver game could be Zach Wilson, which would be we could play Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold week after week. So, old Jet reject busts are on our schedule one after another. So that's exciting.
There's your storyline.
Yeah. No, the Jets have a chance to start off 4-1. I agree that they should, but they won't. They'll be 2-3 or 3-2 or something like that.
By the way, if I could just slip in, I wasn't planning on this. This just became a pet peeve of mine literally 5 seconds ago as I'm looking at this, but I've seen this one before and it bothers me. Novak, so as I'm scrolling down the Jets schedule here, I look real quick and I just see, holy shit, I go, you have 4 home games in a row? Wait a minute. No, the Verse Vikings is the one in fucking London, right?
London. Yep.
Well, how about this? Get like ESPN or any of these fucking websites are like put the fucking at Vikings. Don't put it verse just because it's not in Minnesota. Put the fucking at in there. So I'm not looking at this all confused, thinking there's 4 straight home games. Oh, we can't. No one thinks of that. No one at any of these networks or no one says, hey man, that's kind of confusing. Just put it at, so that way it looks like it is a true road game. It's Vikings actually are the home team. God almighty. So I was an unexpected pet peeve here halfway through the session tonight. Just popped in. Just verse. I'm like, holy shit, they have 9 road games and somehow there's 4 of them in a row at home. Nope. London games in there.
I do have to ask a question though, because I know the 4 of us are diehard NFL fans, and I know the lead up to the draft, our interest sort of waned a little bit. We look forward to the schedule release. Were you as excited this year as you have been in past years for the schedule release? And the reason I say that is because the NFL talked about there being a building excitement. For me, it was kind of a letdown because you have leak upon leak that comes out. So you already know basically what the international games are, what the key opening games are. We knew about the Eagles playing the Packers in Brazil for months now. This kind of stuff leaks out. I have to tell you, by the time the actual schedule is said, I'm sort of ambivalent anymore. I used to look forward to this like Christmas Day. And one of the things that also gets me too is that we already know the opponents at the end of the season last year. Like there's no surprise there. You know what the opponent is going to be. You just don't know when you're going to play them.
Well, do you guys, the NFL Network, I guess, owns the right for that show, right? It's not ESPN, I guess. I mean, they do their own show too, but like the NFL Network is the one that highly touts the schedule release, right? Do you guys actually sit and watch the show? It sucks.
It so sucks. Bad. It's boring as hell.
It's unbelievably bad. They'll just single out one team, and then you have two yahoos in the studio kind of going through like wins and losses for like one team, and you're sitting there waiting to get through. It's awful. It's like a 3-hour show of just bullshit. It's just, you know what it is? It's sort of like, I'm a weather guy, so I love impending storms, like hurricanes are coming or a snowstorm. And it's like this, you're waiting for like days, weeks for like a storm to come. And then when it arrives, you're like, that's it? That was the storm? Right? Hurricane Art Vandalay is coming, hunker down, whatever. And it comes in, you're getting your bread, your milk, your batteries, your generators, all this and that. And then the storm comes in and nothing happens. That's how it feels with the schedule release. Like that was it? What? All right.
Well, just like anything else, the NFL touches lately, they ruin it by oversaturation. That's just what they do. They try to make schedule release day like a mini draft day. Well, they've already ruined draft day. So what else is next to pull the teeth out of? I mean, Scott made a great point. When you're looking at the schedule, you already know 25% of it. You already know who all the teams are. You already know 25% of your schedule. So on schedule release day, it's like you could almost fill in the boxes yourself before it actually happens. And to answer your question, was I excited about it? No. On that day when you guys started texting about the schedules as they were being released, I was like looking at my phone going, oh. Like I didn't go, oh my God, I'm missing the schedule release. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's me. I'm indifferent anymore. I'm telling you.
No, I think it's from what I said at the beginning. I don't trust their intentions. Like I think they back in the day they used to really think about like putting rivals on a good weekend and having good games at the end of the year. And now I just sit there thinking they got to worry about London and Brazil and Taylor Swift and Black Friday and fucking, Thursday night games and Monday night. Like, no, I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. No. I think they're not intentioned in the right way. They're just pulling these bullshit games out for storylines. I don't think they care about the competition.
Here's the most ridiculous thing. I saw something after the schedule was released that said that Taylor Swift could make every Chief game except 2 or 3. So they went through and they cross-referenced what her concert schedule was against what the Chiefs' schedule was and figured out that she could make basically every game.
Do we really think that they did that? No, I don't think they did. But I don't trust that they didn't.
Didn't someone admit that? Didn't someone like at the NFL say that was a factor?
I think it was a factor because she had a couple of concerts or something on a Sunday, or so they couldn't put. And I understand that because these venues aren't going to want to.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that was it. But still, do you really try? Like, I don't want to think that they actually thought about it, but I don't trust that they didn't. Like, I think that probably entered their mind.
I don't put them past anything. I don't put the league past anything
I don't
anymore.
That's my point.
Yeah, there's too many coincidences on the schedule. I mean, really, the Chiefs are in Buffalo and Taylor Swift has a concert in Toronto that night or the day before or something. I mean, there's too many that are just like that.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are in Buffalo. Oh, the weekend that Taylor Swift is right across the bridge on the other side,
I would love it if they broke up and then she started, banging a guy in a different team, and then holy shit, now what? We gotta flex the whole freaking year because she's not with Travis Kelce anymore. Like, what are we doing? By the way, the Chiefs, while we're on them, I think we all know this by now. They play on every day of the week this year except one. They play on 6 different days of the week this year.
How do they play on a Tuesday and a Wednesday?
So Wednesday,
Christmas.
I think Christmas Day is Wednesday.
Oh.
So they play on the Saturday before, I think they're playing. I don't know where the Friday.
They play
comes
Black
in.
Friday. They play
Black Friday. Okay,
game.
I was going to say that's
So
the only
there is a
Black
Black Friday game.
So obviously
again.
Sunday,
is.
the only day of the week the Chiefs don't play this year is fucking Tuesday. That's it. I mean, it's
That's
insane.
That if you had told me that like 3 years ago, I'd be like, this is one of those things that should be in Sports Illustrated, the sign of the apocalypse.
Yeah. It's like I mean, this is the NFL's version of a solar eclipse. It happens like this has never happened before. You know, it's unreal.
They'll find a way. In 2 years from now, they'll find a way to get a game every night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They'll figure out something.
Oh yeah.
Some Tuesday night thing or whatever. They'll do something.
You guys got anything else about the schedule?
Yeah, I had one other thing to put in. I'm really curious. You had mentioned the Giants preseason games, Scott, and I was just wondering if you thought Houston would play their starters.
I will let you know when we get to that game.
Yeah, maybe we're a little too far away right now. You can
Ding,
let me know.
ding.
You can let me know later.
Yeah.
I also will let you know if I have a work event that night.
There you go.
I do think from your perspective, you guys should be pretty happy that the Eagles' first game is in Brazil against the Packers on week 1. You gotta like that right? Isn't it? No, September 6th.
You know, I like
It is.
that.
It's Friday.
But,
It's Friday the 6th.
Yeah.
but as we've seen with the Eagles, and I was looking at some of the Eagles' schedules, the Eagles have favorable matchups. They have a few home games in a row, which other teams don't. It just seems like every year there's discrepancies with the Eagles or the Cowboys that seem to favor them.
Well, what I would love to see with the Eagles is, and I'm looking at their schedule right now. I want to see one year where they play just once more road primetime games than home primetime games.
Yeah.
What is it about at Philadelphia in prime time that they must give them multiple games at home in prime time? So, but Novak, here's the thing. Like, Brazil game. It's a wild card kind of game. Like, I could see either team winning that game. So let's suppose the Eagles, win that game. They get a fucking Atlanta Falcon team on Monday night at home in week 2. Then they're at New Orleans and at Tampa, the gauntlet of the NFC South. And then they have the Browns at home, and then they play the fucking Giants. So, like, they could start 6-0 every year with this Eagle team. They're 8-2, like, every year.
I didn't realize that was the next 4 games. They gave them the NFC South 1, 2, 3 in a row.
3 NFC South games in a row. The gauntlet of this NFC South. Yep.
How is that a perfect schedule? Someone explain to me how that happens.
We got to get the Eagles off to a 6-0 start every year. Every year we must.
Seems like what I like about when we play the Eagles on this schedule is week 7. We're not getting a fresh Barkley. There'd be. I'm sure when teams looked at when they were playing the Giants, they were like, we don't play the Giants till like week 11. Is Barkley even going to be there? That has to have crossed other teams' minds. So, I'd rather. I didn't want Barkley in week 1 or 2. And didn't get that, so I was happy about that too.
Here you go with their prime time, though. Week 2, Atlanta at home on a Monday night. And then further down the schedule, their next prime time, the Jaguars at home on a Sunday night. Go a little further down. Ooh, the tough Washington Commanders come in for prime time on a Thursday night. Real tough.
Yeah.
So 3 at home.
Yeah, and then they have one. They're at the Rams on I don't know if that's a Monday or night. I can't tell. It just has a date. On November 24th, I guess that's.
I'll bet you their bye is the next week too.
No, not after the Ram game. No, it's earlier, I guess, in the year because that's not till that's like the week, Thanksgiving, of course. But once again, there it is with the Philadelphia Eagles. Does anyone realize this? That every fucking year, this team has at least 3 home. It's not easy. Primetime games on the road. We know that it's difficult to win. It's difficult to win on the road.
Yep.
And the Eagles get more of those every year. And here we go again.
Well, you know what part of that you're bringing up that no one ever talks about. All they say is the Giants suck on Monday night or in prime time. The Steelers, the Raiders are great. The Eagles are great, right? No one ever, they leave out the last part at home on the road. How rare it is for the Giants to play a primetime game at home.
against a division opponent too. I mean,
Yeah.
well, unless it's Dallas, of course. By the way, we will never in our lifetime see Giants and Dallas either home or away at 1:00 on a Sunday.
Probably
That is
never again.
gone.
I think it's gone.
I think I was in high school the last time that happened.
Yeah.
We'll never see
gone.
that the rest of our lives. Either in either venue. It doesn't matter. That's gone forever.
Yep.
Ever.
Cardone, you got a pet peeve this week?
Yes, I do, and you've already alluded to it. The word leaks drives me insane. So, particularly, and I don't know if I'm jumping on someone else's pet peeve, but Scott, as you started to bring it up, I'm like, oh, Scott's going to be all over my pet peeve here. That was the one that I had to just get out. Is these fucking leaks are just incredibly frustrating. The one I had my eye on the most actually was really, again, for personal reasons, was Giants Panthers. That we saw that like 5 times. That's the Germany game. Nope, it's not. I don't know where that came from. I saw one report on somewhere, Giants.com or something like. So I was like, woohoo! Nope, actually they are going to be here in Charlotte. Then it was like, nope, that's the one that's going to be in Germany. Knock it off with these leaks. I don't know how we're going to stop that. They seem to be getting worse every single year. It's absolutely mind-numbing and mind-boggling and frustrating as hell as you're trying to think about your team's schedule and these leaks come out. And there's no way to avoid it. Let's be honest, guys. No matter how hard you try to not, sneak a peek or try to, or someone sending you a text or whatever, the 4 of us are active on, trying to be the first one to get information to each other. A lot of it's for entertainment purposes, but it's the schedule leaks, guys. I can't tolerate or take these things anymore every year, and they're just getting worse and worse. And the only way to, I think the only way to avoid them is to go to a darkness retreat and absolutely disappear to avoid a leak. That's about it. So I don't know how else to avoid the schedule leaks.
I'll give you a funny story about the Carolina game. So, I'd heard since basically February, this game was going to be not in Carolina. So I was preparing myself for that. And then someone the night before the schedule was released went on Ticketmaster and saw that there were Giant Panther games available on Ticketmaster. So they're like, it can't possibly not be in London. Ticketmaster has ticket sales for it coming tomorrow.
Exactly. How could it be?
Then it was in London.
Brutal.
Well, the way you can avoid the leaks, just release the schedule.
Yes.
Just
Thank you,
stop
Novak.
with the slow drip. Just let it out.
You
Stop
do that
with
too.
this. It's so simple.
It's so true.
Novak, pet peeve?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go away from football because obviously we covered a lot that annoys me there. I love the pet peeve segment because I have a lot of anger built up inside of me because of sports, and so I got to get it out. And so I'm thinking for the last, we haven't talked for a month or so, so I'm thinking what has annoyed me the most. And look, all 4 major sports have gone to review in some aspect, one way or the other. And I think now I'm convinced that the sport that does it the worst is basketball.
Yes.
Have you tried to watch the end of a basketball game? First of all, every foul now, the players are turning to their coach going, review, right? Because they don't think they fouled him. And now we've got to sit for 7 minutes waiting to see if the ball grazed the fingernail of someone as it went out of bounds to see if it remains with the team or it gets turned over to the other one. Like, I understand you need to have review. Fine. It should be for if your foot is on the line and like maybe a charge. I can see that. Other than that, stop with the grazing the short of a player as he's half in bounds and half out. Like, I'm tired of the review. It's annoying, and the basketball has done it the worst of all sports, in my opinion. That's my pet peeve. Just stop with the review. And I don't know when you can or you can't.
No, like they showed a review the other day of a foul that was a clear foul in the NBA. They called it a foul.
Yes.
And they went to a review, and for some reason they overturned this, and I never really got an explanation of what it was. The guy hacked the guy on the arm as he was shooting, clear as day. It was a foul, and they said something about his feet were not planted properly or something. I have no idea what this was. I was like, you're kidding me.
It's unbelievable. like the ultra slow motion to see if the ball turned a little quicker because it hit the finger of the player. Like, come on. Some of the stuff, just leave it up to the ref. And look, we complain about the refs, Scott, more than anyone, but we all complain about the refs to some extent. I'm fine with dealing with human error on some things. Some things just let it be. Just let it be what it is.
If you're going to review something in the NBA, by the way, review those times when people take like 7 steps and they still don't see a travel somehow.
Oh, like Halliburton, who was, like
You got
basically
guys-
running with the ball and shooting a 3.
You have a guy who actually will stop at the foul line, move back to the 3-point land without taking a dribble and shooting, and you're like,
and they
how did
don't
he
call
do
it.
that?
That they
How
don't
did he
call.
do that?
It's like, you're right though. No, if I could pile on, this is a great pet peeve because I have a couple follow-up points if you guys don't mind. So like, you're right about the fingernail thing. It's like, if you guys remember Blades of Glory, it's like when they did the Iron Lotus and you had to see like the skate blade went across like Will Ferrell's neck to cut, like, to get one of his little like hairs on his neck. Like, that's what we're looking at now, where we got to slow it down. But Novak, you know what bothers me the most about the reviews, more than even the review itself, and I'll use baseball as my example for when it's players fucking asking for the review.
Yes.
Absolutely, immediately. So I love the one where a guy's stealing second or third, whatever it is, and he goes down in his slide, and as he's popping up, the tag is applied, and he's literally pointing over wildly to the coaching staff, like on the dugout, to review after he's called out. I'm like, knock it off. That one drives me nuts. Where a guy, as soon as he's called out, he's pointing immediately. He won't get off the fucking bag. He's standing there waiting for the review, and then it's the way the players ask for the review that drives me more crazy than the review itself.
So annoying.
Agreed. And as a coach, how do you deal with that? Because every player doesn't make a mistake, so they're asking their coach, review it on every single play. And then if you don't review it, now the player's pissed off at the coach, and you got to deal with that. And it's,
I tell you, there's a way to solve this problem. I said it a while back, and that is, in every sport, make impersonating an official a foul. So if you call for a review, no, only an official can do that.
Yes.
You're teed up, In the NFL, if you run and get a first down and go, no, you cannot signal first down. It's impersonating an official.
Right.
Yeah.
You pull the flag out of your back pocket.
Yeah, right. You're trying to catch a ball and someone tackles you. You stand up going,
That's the receiver. The guy sliding at the second base is coming up. That's the exact equivalent of a receiver. He's not even done rolling on the ground, and he's doing this as he's as he's still tumbling around on the ground.
No. So then the flag comes out, and the player starts to celebrate, and the official's like, 15 yards, offense, impersonating an official. That's my solution for that.
What would be the hand signal for impersonating an official, Mike? What would
we
have to come up with
yourself.
that? Like just point to yourself.
I like that. You just point to yourself.
Or pretend to put up a fake mirror and guys impersonating an official.
The guy over there was mocking me.
They should just get a mime in there and let them figure that one out.
Yeah.
Mikey, pet peeves?
Yeah, I should have written better ones because we knew this whole podcast was going to be about the annoying schedule drop and all that. But that's where I went. And I'll tell you why I went there is because I think I have an idea, much like my just last one, to solve this schedule drop idea. So my sister went to college in upstate New York at Le Moyne College.
Le Moyne, outside of Syracuse.
Yeah, and they are the Dolphins, the Le Moyne Dolphins, right? So every spring, they know it's going to be like within this window, but they don't know when it is. They have this thing called Dolphy Day. And it just spreads word of mouth that everyone wakes up. They're like, oh, it's Dolphy Day. And like all the classes are canceled and everyone goes out and, just drinks all day and has a big party, Dolphy Day. So I say it's what the NFL does with the schedule. Like they don't even tell us when it's coming. We just all wake up. It's schedule day. Oh, you want to talk about excitement? We've been calling each other. Holy shit, the schedule. I just went out. It's out. It's out. So, yeah, I think we should have random schedule drop day for the NFL that we don't know about. There's no anticipation. They give us the date now. And then who's ever heard of something like that? Nah, we're not doing it then. What the fuck? Do you have a schedule or not? Like, what the hell are you doing? If you've got one, you said we could see it today. Let us see it. This is crap. Like, who does something like that? The NFL's hubris is off the charts. With something like that. But yeah, I'm not. I promise you, I will, until this is fixed, which it will obviously never be. They'll do the same thing and worse next year. I am never going to give one shit about schedule release day again. I don't. And it's just taking joy out of my life. I used to live for the draft. I used to live for seeing the schedule for the first time, and sitting down like at the kitchen table at home at 14 years old, like win. Okay, the Giants are going to be 14-2. That's I lived for that. Now it's this. Oh, here's a tease of a Monday night game. Oh, that's all you can have right now on Thanksgiving. These are potential games. Just shut up, man. Just shut the whole thing up. Release it in secret overnight. Let us all take the day off from work. I'm calling it schedule day.
Yeah, do like what the Baltimore Colts did back in like '83 or whatever it was when they moved
left town.
Yeah, they just moved to Indianapolis in the middle of the night, didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. Yep.
They just packed a Mayflower moving truck and just showed up in Indianapolis.
Drove off.
It's like they just showed it because it's like they're like, shit, we're almost out of gas. I guess Indianapolis is our home. We were really going, a little further. Like that was it. They just planned a trip wherever they ended up.
Novak and I were talking about this when we came on. So, I have my Rangers sweater on, and he and I are both big Ranger fans. And we were saying about how playoff hockey is one of those things that keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. You're watching 3 periods glued to the television, waiting to see what happens. And then if it goes to an overtime, it's, hey, whoa, what's going to happen here? It's extra time. The NFL is on verge of losing people in that regard, where the excitement level of an NHL game is so much better than that of any of the sports. If you ask me, if you go
agree.
to talk about playoff time.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is nothing in any other sport that matches Game 7 NHL intensity. That is the most intense thing you can watch on TV.
Yep.
And any game, any sudden death, obviously that's overtime. Any overtime playoff game, I don't care what round it is. It's just awesome.
And Cardone had a great point about overtime in general earlier.
Oh, in hockey, yeah. What's great about it is like you never know when the game's going to end. You absolutely every other sport, you kind of get a sense, especially like football, as a team's marching down and they need any kind of score to win. Like as soon as they get into field goal range, like, well, just don't fuck up here, and you have a field goal attempt. So like baseball, you got second and third, nobody out. All you need is a sac fly, so that you feel the run coming there. Basketball, once a team gets up by a few points, now basketball's a little different, but still, it's you have a sense of how the game's going to end a little bit. But hockey, it's devastating when you're on the losing end. What's worse, guys, than losing an overtime like playoff game? Your team, nothing.
Oh yeah, there's nothing worse.
The game just ends.
No.
Yep. And sometimes on a freak shot, you don't even see the puck go in. All of a sudden, everyone's the road team is cheering. You're like, as Scott, you mentioned, like you don't hear a damn thing except the guys on the ice going woo. The arena's just dead silent. Yep. So yeah, hockey. That's why NHL overtime there's nothing like it. Nothing.
So my pet peeve, I went off the grid a little bit. So this is probably going to draw some ire because I'm a middle-aged guy playing a video game, but I play FIFA, which is a soccer game on the Xbox. And I logged on the other day and I get a message saying that one of my squad names was offensive and they've changed it. And if I were to have another offensive name, it might have my account be suspended further and other action taking place. So I'm going to tell you the names of my team squads. I'll let you guys tell me which one is offensive from this, because I have one that stands out right away. So I have a team of all Premier League players called the Kings, British Kings. Right. I have a team of all Premier League women called the Queens, the Kings. I have a team of all small players under 5'6" that are called the Jockeys.
Okay.
I have a team of all players over 6 foot tall called the Giants. So the Giants, like our team. I have a team from France called the Cheeseheads. I have a team from Saudi Arabia League called the Sandmen.
Okay.
I have
I'm
a
waiting.
How
I
many
have a
teams do you
team from
have?
I have
Yeah,
a team from Italy called the Pasta Munchers.
All right, that one. But Italians don't care. We've already established
I
that.
have a
Right,
team
you're
from
allowed to do whatever
Spain.
you want.
Yeah.
I have a team
Cutlets and
from
everything else,
Spain
yeah.
called Paella Face. And then I have a team from Germany called Das Boot. So which one out of that group do you think was the offensive one that got me in trouble?
You're talking to the wrong crowd here, but
I'm going to guess the Queens.
It was the Queens.
That would be
Queens.
that was going to be my
Yeah.
guess too.
The
Yeah.
Queens. Somehow the
Yeah.
Kings is okay. The Queens is not.
I
So
see.
the Queens is offensive. So I'm asking myself, like, so what do you call Elizabeth who just passed? Is she not Queen Elizabeth? Is that offensive to hear someone say Queen Elizabeth?
I mean, we live in the Queen City, don't we?
We live
What
in the
is that?
Queen City.
Not anymore.
Cincinnati is a Queen City as well.
Yes, it is.
I just feel like we're getting like language shoved down our face or excluded for things that are like not even offensive. If you're telling me that's offensive and someone calling little guys jockeys isn't offensive, what the fuck?
Yeah, you had a lot of potential there for potentially real offensive names. You've skirted them. Got kind of close with the Sand People one, I guess. But other than that, you were good. But
I think I find it most offensive. I have a friend that plays a soccer video game. I mean, to be honest.
I was going to say, you know,
Well,
what
I
the most
said I was going to
offensive
open
thing to me
myself
is?
up for abuse here. But
Yeah, the most offensive thing to me is Scott described himself as middle age. You planning on living to 110,
Yeah,
dude? Like what?
As Scott's naming the teams, of course, you know. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm like, I'm waiting. I haven't. When are we going to get to like the actual stuff?
So, I mean, my pet peeve is just the way that language is being changed throughout things. And then how are offensive things being found offensive? As we start to navigate this in the NFL, I mean, the NFL is very keen. You could see it during draft night to avoid these kind of things. Meanwhile, I don't know what they're going to do with Rashid Rice and situations like that, but I got to change the name of the team called Queens for some reason.
That's ridiculous. I've got a funny story, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast. I'll tell you guys after, and you tell me if I should have said it.
You probably should.
Yeah.
Calling that offensive without context is crazy. I mean, Cardone brought up, there's a borough in New York just called Queens. There's, there's just without. I mean, I know the context they're saying where the word queen could be used offensively, but it's
Prince Akeem came from Zamunda to go find his bride in Queens.
Yes.
I mean,
why would Kings not be offensive if Queens is?
I don't know.
It was a female team, right?
It's an all-female team from the Premier League, and my all-male team from the Premier League was called Kings. So you had Kings that were all Premier League teams, and then Queens that were all female Premier League teams there.
I don't know.
All right.
But I got it right. So
yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I thought I buried it by glossing over it. I figured you guys would pick Sandmen. or even the jockeys. Jockeys to me would be more offensive. Like little guys are like, what the fuck? He's calling me a jockey?
Scott, it'd be great. When Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time, when he entered it in the bottom of the ninth, Enter Sandman by Metallica would be pounding over the the speakers at the stadium. So when your team, the Sandmen or whatever, you should have that playing in the background as they're taking the field, the pitch or whatever the hell you would call it. I don't know anything about soccer.
The pitch.
All right.
Can you tell me that in the real world, not on Scott's FIFA game, in the real world, there has never been a female group of a team of any sport of some kind that didn't name themselves the Queens?
You know there has.
You know it has.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I just went and looked at the teams in the WNBA because, of course, I have no idea what any of them are called. But
they're shoving that down our throat right now.
Oh my God, I can't wait to unleash that pet peeve.
So we do have a few questions tonight, all from Brian Peacock, but he's got some good ones, and he has one specifically for Novak this week, which is
right.
He's trying to be more inclusive.
That's right.
Yes.
which may or may not go to my pet peeve. But for Novak,
Yeah.
start, bench, or cut Bruce Harper, Freeman McNeil, Leon Washington.
I would cut Leon Washington. I would start Freeman McNeil, and I would bench Bruce Harper. Because I think Freeman McNeil was, after Curtis Martin, the second best running back in Jets history.
I agree with that. I would actually have replaced Leon Washington with Bruce Harper, but Freeman McNeil, to me, from UCLA, guy was a stud.
He was a very good running back in the heyday of the Jets, if they had one. So and Bruce Harper was a very underrated player that no one really paid a lot of attention to. But just so you know, he is the jersey that Fireman Ed wears. So just so we all know that's important.
I do not know who that is. I know who Freeman McNeil is. The other two guys escape me a little bit.
Wait, if I had to, so you know me with jersey numbers, right? With like Djordjevic and the guys. So
yeah.
Fireman Ed, he 40. Does he wear 42?
That's Bruce Harper.
Yeah.
He wears a Bruce Harper jersey.
That's right. Okay.
So Bruce Harper, a running back, was 42.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to make sense, right?
Whatever.
Maurice Carthon was 44. I mean, sometimes, but he was
That's
a
true.
fullback. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess 40s. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, that's right. You can have 40s running back and fullbacks and whatnot. All right.
So we sort of touched upon this before coming on the pod, but Peacock said he's going to the Giants-Dallas game in September. So it's obviously not the one in Thanksgiving, so it's going to be the one in Giant Stadium.
Yep.
And he said, have we thought about going to a game and doing a live podcast? So we have thought about doing a live podcast. We talked about that before we came on. Well, we may do that to open the season. We're working on that. We never thought about actually going to a parking lot and doing a live podcast, and probably mainly because of the fear of having like two people there to cheer us on.
Well, like Giants at Panthers would have been at least a nice thought this year, but oh no, that's the unless we have to go to Germany if we want to pick up and broadcast from for that game. But I like this question by Peacock here.
I think if you set up a couple of tables and a couple of microphones and open up some computers on those tables in the middle of a tailgate parking lot situation, that people would come stand around just out of curiosity.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're at Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, then
that's true.
Well,
they'd run us.
Yeah. We'd be doused in beer. I don't know that we want that.
But we are trying to figure out how we would do this remotely. Let's just put it that way. And then once we figure it out, who knows where we could take it then? We could go anywhere.
We could be like the John Madden cruiser, just cruise around the country.
Yeah.
We'll be passing out turduckets to fans on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We'll chip in and buy an old school bus.
have Giants on one side, Jets on the other, and be like, what the fuck is that? Like one of the old helmet hats. Remember those? Like back in the 80s or whatever? Yeah.
But by the way, I was in Germany last year when the game happened. And I thought to myself, this would be cool to go to a game. I looked into going to the game, and the cheapest ticket I could find was $2,500 US.
What? You're talking about what?
Last year,
game?
the game in Germany. So 2 years ago, it was the Tom Brady game.
That's to get in the building, Scott?
I think that one was in Frankfurt. I'm not sure if the game last year was in Frankfurt or Munich. I was in Germany at the time, and I thought, well, wherever it is, I could probably make it over there. But then the ticket prices were over $2,000.
So not counting flight, hotel, bratwurst, dunkels, not counting any of that stuff. Sauerkraut. I'm already in the whole $2,500 before I even have a bratwurst.
You're in the hole for the ticket, $2,500.
To watch that product, by the way, to watch the Giants-Panthers.
Giants-Panthers.
The Panthers might as well go ahead and change their logo to Comic Sans because they are ridiculously horrible. That $2,500 for the old Giants-Panthers ticket, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. I'm telling you, right. I don't know what the Giants' record will be. Obviously, by that point, hopefully we're somewhat relevant. But if they travel 8,000 miles and lose it, that pathetic franchise.
Oh my God.
God help us.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't want. The second thing you don't want is Justin Fields throwing a touchdown against you guys against that Monday night game against Pittsburgh. Although it would be great for the pod, let me just say that.
Justin Fields might be off the team by week 8.
Was he going to be playing tight end, apparently.
He's going to be like Cordell Stewart. He's going to be returning kicks, I guess.
Now that would be the worst. That Justin Fields scores 2 touchdowns, one on a return and one as a tight end.
But can't you see that happening? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You totally see that happening.
Yeah.
So you came out yesterday and said Pittsburgh is where I always wanted to be. Get the fuck out of here. No one wanted you. Like no one wanted you.
Yeah, the media is rewriting history on this guy so bad. Like, how a shrewd move by the Steelers to get one of the best quarterbacks on the market in free agency. It's like we didn't forget that no one wanted him. We didn't forget that. Like we just saw that happen. So
we didn't forget that no one could be traded for.
Yeah.
I still love Giant Mike's prediction that this guy will be out of the league. This was what year are we? Is this the year, Mike? Is it? Do you remember when that was said?
I think we passed last year.
Was it last year?
We
All right,
passed
close enough.
The point I originally said, but the point should be well taken. It was he stinks.
Here's the thing, though. What's great about that? Step one, we're part of the way there because he's no longer with the franchise that drafted him, and he's now a backup. So he's well on his way to being out of the league. So still just one of my favorite predictions of all time.
Yeah, if he can't find a way onto the field competing with Russell Wilson, and they're acting it just drives me insane. They're acting like this is the plan the whole time. Russell Wilson's the mentor. He hands that off to Justin Fields, after learning from him.
Guys, week 3 of last year, if you don't remember, people were talking about Justin Fields as the MVP.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Orlovsky had it. Yeah, absolutely. Go back. I mean, every week he was he was the headliner of Sports Center.
And then by week 7, Orlovsky said, "I never said that."
Or it was it was the Bears are setting him up for failure. That's what it was. They quickly shifted and backpedaled and said they don't have anybody around him. He's set up for failure.
Yep, he got the Aaron Rodgers treatment. Justin Fields got treated by the media like Aaron Rodgers.
I love it.
So we also have a third question from Peacock. He was asking if, and this is one that actually requires some thought. Oh, no. Does a non-playoff season doom Dable? I'll answer this one first since I had the privilege of seeing it first. I don't think it does, and I will say this: I don't think it does because depending on how the season goes. If we miss the playoffs and we're like a 6-win team, which I expect we're going to be, then we're showing signs of life. We're probably moving off of Daniel Jones and we can move forward. I don't think this is Dable's fault. I don't think you can pin some of the things that will happen this year on Dable. I personally, and we'll go through this before we wrap up because we'll do questions and we'll talk about predictions, but I see us as a 9-win team, but if we're not a playoff team, I still think Dable stays. That's my personal opinion, but couching that, you never know what's going to happen in an NFL season. He could pull an Urban Meyer and have something happen where he's just like kicked out and things like that. You just never know. The NFL season is only, it's only 17 weeks long or 18 weeks long, but there's so many ups and downs that can happen and how many things that can happen with a coach and the perception of him from the media. You never know.
No, you never know. I'm more concerned that if we have to suffer through another 6-11 season, does it doom me as a Giants fan? I don't know how much more of this. I don't know how much more of this shit I can take. I'm worried about me being doomed. But I think to your point, Scott, you'd have to see. The only way I could see, I don't know. I mean, I don't have this team. I'll give my prediction right now. 6-11 last year. How much has this team improved? Did they even improve? We lost Saquon Barkley. We know that. We don't know what we're going to get with Daniel Jones coming off the ACL. He's not going to be tentative to run anymore. So I don't know what we even have at quarterback. I don't see the Giants. There's no way the Giants are going to be a 500 team. I don't even know how they get to 8 wins. I don't. I know we just went through the schedule and they have winnable games, but as the season wears on, I think I have this team at 8 and 9, and that's the high. They're only, Vegas has them. They're over under at 6.5, I think, for wins, 6.5. So I'm going well over. If I'm saying they're going to win 8 games, I couldn't tell you which 8 they're going to win, but it would have to be one of those things where you can literally point the finger at Dayball and his coaching decisions, that if they lost games, then I think he'd be possibly on his way out. I don't think so. I think his job is pretty safe still this year, because just the fact that the Giants are not supposed to be a great team. They're just not. They're not supposed to be a playoff team. I don't think anyone has them more. I haven't seen any predictions of this team doing more than 7-8 wins. So at that point, is it the coach that just if the Giants do go 7-10, does he just get canned? I don't think so. I think he's safe again, at least for a year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that he's safe and Joe Shane is safe. I think they have a built-in scapegoat in Daniel Jones. If they don't make the playoffs this year, Daniel Jones is gone, whether that's because he's sustained yet another injury or he just didn't play all that well, or whatever the reason. If they don't find a way to make the playoffs, Daniel Jones is gone from the Giants. So I think that will scapegoat them, because how do you bring people in here as highly touted as Daboll and Joe Shane and then saddle them with a quarterback? Now, I'm saying that from a different person than me's point of view. I like Daniel Jones. I always have. But from the perception of most people, I think, how do you bring these guys in who are highly touted? Everyone's talking about, oh my God, what a great thing the Giants did. Force him to play their entire tenure there with Daniel Jones and then let them go at the same time as Jones. I just don't think that makes sense. Yeah. So I think, barring something crazy, like Costin said there, that he comes back. And to Cardone's point, if we can go through and say this team could have won 6 more games, but for obvious in-game things that Brian Daboll did to lose those games, which I don't really see happening, but if something like that should happen, then sure. But
yeah, I think if you guys are out of it again by Halloween, which I think is potentially possible, I'm not saying it's going to happen. And I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying you guys will think this, but the talking heads are going to start throwing Belichick's name out there. I said this at the end of last year.
Oh, yeah.
I think it will happen. It's going to annoy the fuck out of you, but it is going to happen if they are not any good.
Yeah,
and
that's another reason I want a fast start, because I don't want to hear the Belichick rumors. I mean, look, by the time if Belichick comes back after next year, he's going to be like 74 years old. I mean, he's done. He's past his prime.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't. I really. No, I mean, and you never would have said that, even maybe a couple years ago. But I wouldn't want him. You guys know. Yeah.
You guys know I'm pie in the sky guy, and when I look at the schedule and I look at the way it could play out, and I am looking at it from a healthy Daniel Jones standpoint, I see 10 wins. I really do. But 10-7, does that get you anything but a wild card, or does it keep you out of a wild card? I don't know. So I am looking at this as 2022. I'm seeing a schedule similarity where we're playing a softer schedule without the gauntlet. I mean, if I look back at last year, as shitty as last year was, we still had some of those games we could have won, and had we won, we could have turned that season around. You look at the Bills game that was lost because of a bad call. I mean, you look at 2 or 3 games there at the end.
The Jet game.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, but you turn those around, and all of a sudden you're a 500 team from a team that we think was all terrible.
And a bad NFC.
I see a 10-win team here, 9-win team at least.
You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I agree with Scott. I think this team.
What? Why are you crazy?
Well, I didn't mean you. You won't think I'm crazy. Everyone else. Scott, he really is the eternal optimist, and I'm usually a little less of an optimist than Scott. But I mean, if, like I said earlier, if we're sitting at 4-4 after 8, or God forbid better, then this team is going to win 9 games. You almost can't stop that from happening if they're 4-4, without a big injury or something nuts. And as Scott said again, assuming that Daniel Jones is healthy through all this, which is a big, big, big assumption.
It's a big if.
I mean, Scott made a great point right there. This team, without a viable NFL quarterback and without a viable NFL offensive line, with kind of a brutal schedule last year, was a couple of plays, calls, whatever away from making a run at 500. So the offensive line looks pretty damn good on paper to me, and you guys know that that's saying something. And I have some other thoughts that we'll probably talk about more as we get into the year about how teams are going to play us without Barkley back there. That may actually start to change some things for us on offense. I think this team's going to be all right, but there's a lot of ifs to that. I think assuming Daniel Jones is going to start 17 games is a little bit nuts at this point. To think that is crazy. You just got to hope his injury comes at a time when we can sustain it. Maybe if he doesn't make the trip to Germany and we have the Panthers and then the bye,
Novak, thoughts on the Jets record?
It's early yet, but I think, I go into every year pretty negative because I'm a negative fan. I have every reason to be. And I'm going to try to change that this year. So I think that and I'm not going to do the bullshit thing that these talking heads do if they stay healthy. Well, you can say that for every team. So stop saying that.
Every team.
So I'm just going to assume they're going to be healthy. I think they're 11-6.
Yeah.
I do.
When I looked at their schedule, I came up with 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to be a little harsh on some, but I just see that opening schedule outside of San Francisco to them opening up well, maybe even 5-1. Maybe not because they play Buffalo, but
Mike Williams, Aaron Rodgers, 5 additions to the offensive line, a bunch of running backs. The defense is Hassan Reddick. We added to the defense. They're talented. The problem with the Jets is they have the worst coach in the league. By the way, the Panthers just scored another goal, but they have the worst coach in the league. So
I just looked up. I didn't see it. Yeah, I saw
2-0.
Yeah.
Game's over.
Fuck.
Shit. Anyway.
Damn it.
Oh, stop.
Oh, look, Shesterkin's looking for interference there. There really was interference, but yeah.
Oh, just like we said, he's pointing to the review. Does he want to review?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, they're reviewing it. They are reviewing it.
They are reviewing it, so we'll see. Anyway, so I'm thinking 11-6. I'm going into this year positive. Let's wait until later in the summer before he tears his other Achilles, then I'll give you my real answer.
Yeah, I just looked at that schedule fully for the first time. It'd be tough to keep them from winning 8 at least. Yeah.
Well, their defense alone is going to win a few games, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, he clearly interfered with Shesterkin.
And I don't think the Bills are I think they're taking a slide back this year, big time. They lost too many. You can't just because you have Josh Allen, you can't just continue to just say they're going to be a 12-win team. They're just not.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And then Miami. What do you think about Miami though, Novak? With coming off of last year and running Tua again back and I don't know. I don't know what the Dolphins have done in the offseason really. I'm sure you probably followed a little closer. I don't follow the AFC as much, but
they lost some offensive line. They didn't really add too much. They had some. The last year was their year, right? That was their go for it year. They had some cap casualties, so they didn't add a ton. They didn't do well in the draft, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a Tua believer. So I don't believe in Miami.
Yeah. I don't see them getting off to the same start they did last year.
No,
scoring 70 points and all that bullshit, right?
I don't see him dropping a 70 burger on anybody this year.
No.
You guys got anything else for tonight?
Nope. Just glad the schedule's out.
The schedule is out.
Just glad the leaks are over and all that bullshit. Yeah.
So we are the 3 Giant fans. We will not probably be back until training camp. But we love doing these interim pods. So, having us here for the schedule release, doing it for the draft recap. We'll do it for the training camp preview. And then we like we talked about earlier, we're talking about doing a live one to start the season. So we're looking at the logistics of that. Darren, can you get us hooked up? We'll see what happens here.
They took the goal back, by the way. So
yeah, they should have too.
So yeah, maybe we'll have some surprises too. Who knows?
I like the sound of that.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
looking forward to getting to season 5, boys.
We'll be back next month. It's been great talking to everyone, and we'll see you guys later.
All right. See you.
See ya.